journey that culminated in Nigeria's first victory at the Africa Cup of Nations in 1980 actually started in 1976 when the Green Eagles, as the team were called at the time, won the bronze medal at the 10th edition of the competition in Ethiopia. Coach of the team was the Yugoslav Jelisavic Tohomar, also known as Father Tico. Team captain was Chairman Christian Chukwu, while the star player was Aruno Ilerika, who had two aliases, Master Dribbler and Tailor, because of his dribbling skills and tailor-made passes. After that impressive adventure in 1976, the Nigeria Football Association retained Father Tico as coach to lead the Green Eagles to the 11th AFCON hosted by Ghana. Nigeria again won the bronze medal, and this time, the star of the team was a certain Segun Odegbami of the famous IICC Shooting Stars of Ibadan, who scored 3 of the team's 6 goals at the competition. Nigeria bidded and won the rights to host the 12th Africa Cup of Nations in 1980. Several members of the 1976 and 1978 squads were still in the team, but the Nigeria Football Association decided to appoint a new coach, the Brazilian Otto Gloria, to lead the Green Eagles. The experiment paid off handsomely as the Eagles swept all before them to emerge as African champions, beating Algeria by 3-0 in the final played at the National Stadium, Surulere, Lagos on March 22nd, 1980. The star of the Nigerian team again was Mathematical Segun Odegbami. Odegbami scored 3 of the team's 7 goals, including 2 in the final, and he was named later as Africa's second best player of the year. 40 years after that famous victory, Mathematical Segun Odegbami recollects how it was achieved and the central role that he played in Nigeria's first major soccer triumph. Segun Odegbami narrates his story to Mumini Alao.
It is 1980 all over again. I recall walking up this same set of stairs, and as you walk onto this magnificent edifice, you are deafened by the shrill and chants of thousands of faces that you cannot even make out. And you come out to the field, welcomed by the shrill tone of Zil Onya, the music merchant, who will be standing somewhere there with his trumpet. And 60 to 80,000 people are singing songs that will just create butterflies in your stomach. Your heart is pounding. You are enthusiastic. You are afraid at the same time. You can't wait to get on that field. Your mates and yourself lined up one after the other to the expectation of all your people all over the country. It is no small responsibility. And then you start to remember, as they filter into your mind, the words of your coach, what you need to do when the whistle is blasted for the start of the game. You can't wait for that moment. 1980, I recall it all like yesterday.
The great Mathematical Segun Odegbami, welcome to the main bowl of the National Stadium. This is the scene of one of the biggest conquests in your football career. Congratulations once again, 40 years after. Tell me in particular, which is the fondest memory that you can recall of this great event when you won the Nations Cup for Nigeria in 1980?
Well, this is like going back to the future.
Wow.
Or to the present. going back to the present. Because I recall probably a young Rafiu Ladipo welcoming us to this turf during our very first match. Because that would be the most difficult match. Expectations were at the highest level. We didn't know what to expect. How were we going to perform? This was the ultimate test for us as players. Before our own people, 80,000 of them jam-packed this stadium, and we were supposed to perform and to win.
And I remember that's the first game against Tanzania.
That was against Tanzania. That was a very fond memory for me, because not only did I play fairly well, I scored the last goal of that match, right there at that other goal post.
Yeah.
And subsequently, we went from match to match to match, more or less the same thing, until we got to the finals, which would be, of course, the fondest memories would lie in the finals.
Absolutely.
Where tension was at breaking point. Our hearts were in our throats. We were confident, and because we had instructions from one of the most seasoned coaches of that era, who was a Brazilian. We had spent 3 months in Brazil. It was a complete turning point for Nigerian football. So coming onto the field, we were soaring like eagles. We were ready to do anything to just put the icing on the cake of our effort. So that was a fun memory. And the best of them was 2 minutes into that match, in that spirit of, adrenaline pumping through your blood, you had what was not even a chance. Looked up, and before people knew what was going on, the first goal had sunk. And that was the incentive we needed to fly. Particularly me, on that day, I can't even recall how I played. I was just playing and soaring and flying, and things were just working so right.
Mathematical, we're actually going to get to the spot where you scored the 2 goals, because you scored 2 goals in the final. But before we get to that stage, you just mentioned about your preparation, going to Brazil for 3 months and all of that, under the coach Otto Gloria. Could you just recall a few of some of the trips that you made at that time to prepare for that trophy?
Well, I believe that team in the history of Nigerian football must have been and still is the most prepared team for any competition in our entire history.
Wow.
If you recall the history of Nigerian football, you will know that our foundation was British. The long kick and follow, very physical type of football. But going into the Nations Cup, 3 or 4 months to the Nations Cup, we had a new coach, Brazilian coach. We now went to Brazil, where they don't play the kick and follow system. And for 3 months, we were tutored in Brazilian football. Jogo bonito. It is dancing in the midfield. It is keeping possession. It is not being in too much of a hurry. So by the time we came back to Nigeria, we were a totally different team. And since then, up till now, Nigerian football has not been the same. That was the change from the typical British system to what we now have is our own football tradition and philosophy, a combination of the kick and follow and the samba of Brazil. We had to show it during that first match here against Tanzania. And it sustained till the very end, and still sustains up till now.
Let's also go back a little bit before 1980. I recall 1976 we won the bronze medal in Ethiopia, and 78 we won the bronze medal again in Ghana. So when Ghana came to Lagos in 1980, they came as defending champions, and they played in Ibadan. I recall we were still in school. We didn't want Ghana to even qualify from the group stage. We didn't want them to come to Lagos at all. Didn't you have any fear of Ghana? Because they won the Nations Cup at home in 78, when Nigeria was actually one of the favorites to win that trophy. Did you have any fears of Ghana, like we had, those of us back in school?
I must tell you, our emotions were two. The first is that before then, if you looked at the history of the rivalry between Nigeria and Ghana, Ghana dominated. Yes. Ghana had always dominated. The few times we defeated Ghana, they were not clear defeats. The first time we actually matched them man for man, was when we met them in Accra, Ghana during the 1978 Cup of Nations. We had a very good set of players, and as I said, we were playing differently. So, whereas we had fear that they had this dominance over the Nigerian team, we also had confidence that we were playing differently, and we had played them. We almost defeated them in Accra, and there was the possibility to beat them here in Nigeria. But any Nigerian team would always have respect and a little bit of fear for Ghana. So we were happy Ghana did not qualify to Lagos. We were happy.
Okay. During your introduction, you mentioned a certain Rafiu Ladipo, president of the Nigerian Football Supporters Club. What role did the Supporters Club play in the triumph of 1980?
Wow. Nigeria could never have done it without the Supporters Club. I remember Dickin Osho was the chairman of the Nigerian Football Supporters Club at the time.
At that time, all right.
And Rafiu Ladipo was a young man like us too, but he was spearheading those that were meeting us here, right here, as we came out of the tunnel. And he was there holding his flag or doing something. You could always make him out. Yeah. The supporters at that time were the spirit, they were the oxygen. They were the fuel that we needed to actually propel us to the heights that we attained. They mobilized Nigerians like I have never seen before. They led in the chanting and singing and dancing that monopolized the whole of this place. You couldn't hear any other supporters from anywhere else. It was all Nigeria, Nigeria, Nigeria. So the Supporters Club then comprised even people who were just ordinary. You didn't have to put on the uniform because everybody was like a Supporters Club. They were not quite as organized as a club as they were now, but they were more organized in mobilizing people to just support as one. So they were pivotal to our success in 1980.
We played actually 6 games before we won the trophy. Which was the toughest for you?
Against Morocco. We have always had problems playing the North African teams because they played European football, possession football. They could hold the ball. Whereas we, before the Nations Cup, as I said, we are the typical British kick and follow, defense to attack kind of system. But for that period, our system changed. We started making use of the midfield. We had 3 fantastic midfield players in Mudashiru Lawal, in Aloysius Atuegbu, and any one of the others that joined them, either Shefiu Mohammed or Badiri Kana or somebody in midfield. But between Aloysius Atuegbu and Muda Lawal, we had players that could hold the ball, that could control the ball, that could pass the ball, that could do anything with the ball. So it was a total departure when we came here to play in 1980.
We won that game by 1-0 against Morocco. And I think I recall it was Felix Owolabi who scored the goal.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now we can talk about the final. All right? Algeria, they were one of the strongest teams in Africa at that time.
They were the strongest.
They were actually the strongest. Okay. How did you prepare for that final? Everybody talks today about different kind of formation, 4-4-2, 5-3-1. What was the formation that you were playing in the Super Eagles at that time?
Well, let me admit that for the finals, it was more than a football match. It was more than the tactics and strategy and so on. It was spirit.
All right.
Something was driving you beyond tactics and strategy. It was that you were going to go out there and you are going to commit everything. You are going to run faster than you have ever run longer than you have ever run, struggle harder than you have ever done. You are just going to do extraordinary things. That was the focus, that was the determination. If they were chasing you, you would chase them to the ground. If they were dribbling you, you would dribble, So it was not really about the tactics. There was the tactics, but it was really about the spirit, the determination. You were there, you were close to the tape, you were close to the finishing line, and nothing was going to stop you.
I actually remember reading one of your columns where you said sometimes at the point you are entering the pitch, everything the coach had told you in the dressing room
evaporates.
Was that one of such occasions?
Absolutely. You could not, the noise was deafening. The stadium was packed like sardine. you couldn't make out a single face. It was just this huge blur of people all over the place. Every single space was occupied. And as I said, your heart is pounding. So you couldn't even remember tactics, strategy. They will come in trickles,
right,
because you had been told over and over again, keep this, do that. But those were just coming in trickles. The greater thing was the spirit and the energy and the determination and the focus. Those are the things that were driving you at that moment.
Fantastic. The first goal, which is scored, I think, under 10 minutes, we are a goal ahead.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Excellent.
It was in the third minute.
I think it was from a throw.
It was a throw.
Okay.
Adoke Amesi threw the ball. It just landed at my feet, and as it came, I turned, and in one movement, I just bent the ball to the far post, and it just went in.
Fantastic. And what was the reaction?
I don't even remember. I died and I woke up again, in disbelief. It was incredible to have scored against the strongest team in Africa at that time. And in the second minute, that was what we needed. We needed to break that psychological barrier of facing a North African team, a team that we knew was very strong, that came out of Ibadan like champions. They were playing like champions.
Absolutely.
And that's the team we had to face. So to have scored in the second minute was actually why we won that match.
And then not long ago, you actually got the second goal again.
Yes, it was a long ball from Christian Chukwu from the defense.
Okay.
It was cleared out. Then Aloysius took the ball on the volley.
Yeah.
It hit the ground and rose up behind all the defenders. And as I was running towards it, the goalkeeper was coming out of his net. If I had stopped it, he would have been on me. So I just decided in that split moment to just connect like a half volley on the ground past the goalkeeper. And that's exactly what happened. And he was just sprawling there looking at the ball as he just sailed into the net.
Would you call that volley the mathematical volley?
Call it what you like.
All right, so, and then we went on to score the third goal. I think it was Alao who scored the third goal, and Nigeria wrapped up the trophy on that day. Now, tell us, Mathematical Segun Odegbami, when the final whistle went, what was the immediate reaction? What came to your mind that very moment when you realized that you achieved something big the first time Nigeria was winning the Africa Cup of Nations?
Well, it doesn't happen twice. So even the first time, you can't find words to describe. It is not something that you ever envisage in your life. That moment, you don't prepare for it. It just comes. You've worked hard, you've done your trainings, you've done this, you've done that, but you never envision that moment when it's over and you have won. Sometimes it becomes anticlimactic because the expectations are so high. So I just knew it was a mixture of happiness beyond description, excitement beyond description, and see, it was madness. It was just pure madness. You can't even recall. It was just pure madness. The people came from everywhere to hail us on the field and all of that. So words cannot describe. Words really can. Even as I look back now, I can't even recall how I felt or what I did immediately, because it was beyond something that you organize or plan, or it was really spontaneous.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. Now, when you went all up for the presentation, your medals, collection of medal, and then the trophy from the president, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, did the president tell you anything in particular?
I don't even recall. But things had calmed down at that time. Yes, we had all lined up on the field. They had given the referees their away medals and so on. We were all looking up there. We saw the president of our country there. You know, it was just a celebration deep down. And we couldn't wait to get up there to receive our medals.
Right.
I don't know what I was thinking. But to walk up there and everybody was giving you a handshake as you went up there to receive your medal, to receive a hug from your president. That was too much. That was too much. I don't recall what he said. He definitely said something. Probably, congratulations or thank you or something like that.
Right.
But I don't really quite recall now.
Okay. Now let's quickly run through the final lineup. You already mentioned the three in the midfield, Alao, Aloysius Atwigbo, and one other. But let's start from the goal. It was Best Ogedegbe. in goal for Nigeria during the Nations Cup finals?
Supremely confident football player turned goalkeeper.
Wow.
Because Best Odegbami was as good a player on the field as he was in goal. Wow. So he understood how players played. He is the goalkeeper that we found most difficult to beat because he could almost read your mind. He was goalkeeping as a player would. Not the flying cat of Peter Pregene or Alao Rigogo. Not the calculative, tall, imposing Emmanuel Okala. But Best Odegbami was measured, was cool, was calm, was confident, and he would impose his confidence on any attacker.
Wow.
Once you were coming and you saw him, it was that you were scared. Where do I go now? So Best was absolutely brilliant as a goalkeeper. For a young man to have come, the only goalkeeper in our history to have been declared Africa's best goalkeeper, to have overtaken such a goalkeeper, was no mean feat.
Fantastic. Then the defense line.
Surprising defense line. Because we had more or less a makeshift left full back.
All right.
We were changing our left full backs until they settled for Felix Owolabi. Then on the right flank, it was David Adeli. Even John Orlando was shifted to left full back, even though he didn't play. But Felix was there, and Felix was an overlapping full back. He could play left full back and play. But our defense was not really as tight as we would have wanted.
All right.
But because our play had changed to midfield play, we are now playing with the midfield. It became a lot stronger. So we had David Adeli on the right back position. We had Christian Chukwu. We had Odie, and then we had Kadiri Kana, who came in the second half. We had Muda Lawal was playing up front, not even in the midfield. We had Shafiq Mohammed, who was coming in and going out.
Up front with you?
Well, up front, it was fireworks of the sort that you find only occasionally, where whether you are playing from the right or you are playing from the left, you are in trouble. The power of Nigeria's football is to play to our strength. Our strength is speed on the flanks. It is dribbling skills, because you, as individuals, you have to be expressive, and it is somebody to finish up front. And all of them are very fast, and all of them are very strong. So you had on the right flank, not like these days when the right winger will play on the left wing and the left will play on the right.
Yeah.
We had on the right flank the stallion who was galloping away, described by Otto Gloria. No, described as Otto Gloria as the fastest player he had ever seen play football.
Wonderful.
And on the left side,
you didn't mention the name of that stallion.
And on the left side,
That's Segun Odegbami, the mathematical.
And on the left side, you had the dribbling machine, and Adoke Amesimeka, who would dance and waltz on the ball, beautifully as he went, and his crosses, right-footed player, playing on the left side of attack, and he would hardly ever cross with his left foot. He would go down the line, pretend as if he's going to cross with his left foot, bring the ball back to his right foot, and then some of us that's when we will take off. And we put it out there in the air, and there we are leaping to nod the ball into goal. Watch the game against Tanzania, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Mr. Segun Odegbami, mathematical. We will now go to the pitch to demonstrate exactly what happened 40 years ago. How Segun Odegbami scored 2 goals in the final against Algeria in the final of the Africa Cup of Nations.
This is about the very spot that it happened in 1980, when in 2 minutes and some seconds, probably the fastest goal ever scored in the history of the Africa Cup of Nations, Adoke Amesimeka lifted the ball and threw it, and it landed at my feet somewhere in that distance, and in one movement I turned on the ball bent it with my right foot to the top left corner of goal, and that was Nigeria's first goal. Follow me as I showed you where I did the turn. It must have been somewhere around this area. The ball came in the air, landed at my feet, and I made the turn on the ball, and in one movement, I just chipped it to that far left corner of goal. So the ball came, I turned, chipped it with my right foot, and there we had Nigeria's first goal.
So throw into Nigeria. Amesimaka. That's Odegbami, and it's in the net. It is a goal. Segun got it. Well, that is the long blast of the whistle to formally end the 12th African Cup of Nations. The main bowl. This has been the most successful match Nigeria has played in all this series.